Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone's doing very well. As always, there is a ton of news stories to get into today. So let's talk some Impact Wrestling and let's talk Tony Nese. Now, the former WWE superstar, now former WWE superstar, obviously, because he was released by the WWE yesterday, along with several other, mainly NXT superstars and 205 Live stars. It's a wonder why they even carry on with that show at this point. Looks to be like actually 205 Live could be folding in the next couple of weeks or so. Certainly, with NXT focusing more on the Cruiserweight division going forward on the main NXT program featuring bigger stars, it looks like there's no more room for the stars of 205 Live and other lesser NXT stars on that brand. Hence why several names were released yesterday under the guise of budget cuts rather by WWE. But one name that could be headed to Impact Wrestling is Tony Nese. Now, I did a video earlier today talking about where I think all of the WWE releases yesterday will end up, whether it be Impact, AEW, MLW, Ring of Honor, New Japan Pro Wrestling, NWA. There are so many names there, so be sure to check that out on the channel. But I do want to talk about Tony Nese because it looks like Tony Nese, who actually did make some appearances for Impact Wrestling in the past, could be headed to Impact Wrestling once his 90-day non-compete clause with the WWE expires. Now, wrestling legend and Impact Wrestling star and a very influential figure behind the scenes in Impact Wrestling, Tommy Dreamer, has expressed his desire to see Tony Nese join the company. Now, Tommy Dreamer, of course, at the moment on screen, he's the Anthem representative. He doesn't have that position in real life. What he does hold is a member on Impact Wrestling's creative team. He is a producer for Impact Wrestling, and as I mentioned, a very influential figure behind the scenes. If you look at the hierarchy, you've got the likes of Scott D'Amore, Ed Nordholm as the top guys representing Impact Wrestling for Anthem Sports and Entertainment, but then you do have guys like Tommy Dreamer, like Jimmy Jacobs, like D'Lo Brown, who are all very instrumental behind the scenes for Impact Wrestling. I think you throw Gail Kim into that argument there as well. So Tommy Dreamer, he's expressed a desire to see Tony Nese return to Impact Wrestling. Now, yesterday, of course, WWE released many NXT and 205 Live superstars owing to the dreaded budget cuts, and the former Cruiserweight champion was one of them. Now, Tony Nese was a mainstay on 205 Live and had a Cruiserweight championship reign of 77 days. Tony Nese tweeted this yesterday, quote, "Thank you, everyone. I don't care about how unwatched and underappreciated 205 Live was. I busted my ass every single time I stepped foot in the ring, doing whatever was asked of me with no questions asked. I can't wait to be that type of employee for someone else." Now, following his release, Tommy Dreamer took to Twitter to post a picture of Tony Nese and stated he wants to see him in Impact Wrestling once his 90-day non-compete clause finishes up. He added there are a lot of dream matches awaiting him in the X Division. Tommy Dreamer tweeted the following quotes: "Hey, Tony Nese, hit me up in 91 days, X Division, and everyone matters, hashtag dream matches." Now, as I mentioned, Tony Nese did spend some time in TNA briefly back in 2011. Didn't yield much success, but was featured on Impact a couple of times and did, as I mentioned, competed in that X Division. I think he was part of the whole X Division tournament that actually led to Austin Aries getting a contract with Impact Wrestling at that period of time. Now, obviously, things could change if he signs with Impact Wrestling in the future. Certainly, he could be a real standout position of the X Division and that whole brand right now, that whole X Division push in Impact Wrestling, because I spoke about this earlier when we spoke about Tony Nese and spoke about him as to where I think he'll end up in his post-WWE career. And I did select Impact Wrestling as the most likely destination for a variety of reasons. The most obvious being the endorsement right there of Tommy Dreamer. If Tommy Dreamer's publicly coming out and saying, "We want you in Impact Wrestling, we want you in the X Division," that's certainly a sign they've probably done the exact same thing to him in private too. I think Tony Nese ends up in Impact Wrestling. I think he ends up in the X Division. He's a perfect fit. Not just because of his Cruiserweight background, not just because he was a former Cruiserweight champion, and certainly not just because he's a former WWE talent. I think Impact Wrestling are past that at this point as to, we've just got to sign ex-WWE talents. That's not necessarily the case. Obviously, they're looking for names that have buzz coming out of WWE. That's what the whole Slammiversary build is centered around, with all of the teasers and the promotional videos and the vignettes and all that kind of stuff. So, obviously, they are looking at ex-WWE talents, but I think Tony Nese just fits perfectly because I think his style fits perfectly. Again, he has history with Impact Wrestling. He wrestled in the X Division in the past. Yes, he's more of a high-flying style, more of a cruiserweight style, if you will, a light heavyweight style, whatever you want to call it. But he also can mix it up with the different kind of styles that encapsulate the X Division. He has had great matches with other guys that maybe haven't been, the high flyers of the cruiserweight division in WWE, whether that's Drew Gulak, whether that's Aria Daivari, whether that's whoever. He has had great matches against those guys, and he does have tremendous experience. He's a phenomenal-looking athlete. Obviously, he's physically in tremendous shape. And I think he would be a huge asset to Impact Wrestling and the X Division, which we know is getting this renewed focus right now in Impact Wrestling. I know I've said this report a million times, and I know people will just roll their eyes when I say this, but this is for people that haven't watched the videos before. The X Division is getting a renewed focus right now in Impact Wrestling. The report came out a couple of weeks ago. I think it was PW Insider was first to report this, and that is that the X Division is getting this renewed focus. Impact Wrestling, since really the turn of the year with the return of the Super X Cup tournament, and then all of these big featured matches, whether they're Iron Man matches with Josh Alexander and TJP, whether it's the return of Ultimate X at Slammiversary, Impact Wrestling are looking to heavily feature the X Division going forward. They want the championship to essentially be the equivalent to the Impact World Championship. The comparison has been made to Rob Van Dam being the television champion of ECW in late 1999 to into 2000, holding the championship for over 700 days. And by that point, the television championship really did have a lot of credibility and really meant something on ECW television. That's what Impact Wrestling are looking to do for the X Division going forward. Now, will they be able to pull it off? Well, we're in June. We're 6 months into this year so far, or nearly 7 months into this year so far, and Impact Wrestling have really heavily pushed that X Division. Right now, Josh Alexander, he's on New Japan Pro Wrestling Television too. As I mentioned, he's having 60-minute matches on Impact Wrestling Television. He's facing guys from New Japan and El Fantasmo as well, and now he's defending the championship in an Ultimate X match. They're trying their best. They're trying their darnest to make it mean something and make it really a centerpiece of the promotion, which it should be. You know, you look at Impact Wrestling, some of the things you think of, you have to think about unique selling points, right? You have to think about things that make Impact Wrestling unique in comparison to other companies and other promotions. One of them is the X Division. Another one is, of course, the Knockouts Division. We know how prominently that's featured in Impact Wrestling, and obviously it's a big drive by Impact Wrestling to really feature the X Division going forward. So I think Tony Nese will be fantastic in Impact Wrestling. Obviously, there's going to be lots of offers. I think he'll probably get offers from the likes of Ring of Honor, MLW, the NWA, certainly independent scenes. The good thing is with Impact Wrestling right now, and this is why they've been so good at recruiting these stars when they've been released by WWE over the course of the last 18 months or so, is they're very flexible. They're very flexible when it comes to contracts. They're very much, come work with us. Maybe, you're not going to be exclusive or anything like that. You can work independent dates. Look, we've got working relationships with New Japan Pro Wrestling. We've got working relationships with AEW. We've got working relationships with AAA. You sign with Impact Wrestling, it doesn't prevent you from working anywhere else. So if you wanted to do an appearance for New Japan, if you want to be part of the Best of the Super Juniors or something like that, sure, we can help you facilitate that. We can help you get the foot in the door. Chris Bay's been involved with New Japan this year. Obviously, the Good Brothers are involved with New Japan this year. Of course, Josh Alexander is involved. TJP's involved. We've got plenty of guys involved with New Japan. So if you want to work with New Japan, and we can help you do that as long as just you work with us. You want to work with AEW? Again, we can get some discussions going. You want to work in Mexico? We've got a relationship with AAA. That's exciting for a lot of people. That's certainly, it kills a lot of birds. We kills several birds with one stone. I'm looking for the right analogy there. So I certainly could see that happening. Like I said, if Tommy Dreamer is reaching out to Tony Nese in the world of social media, logic would suggest he's probably done it privately as well. Again, we know how proactive Impact Wrestling are when it comes to recruiting talent that have been released by WWE in the past. With the Good Brothers, they got a call from Scott D'Amore, Impact Wrestling official, certainly within 15 minutes of their release last April. So I'm sure that Impact Wrestling would have probably reached out to several names that were released yesterday already and are probably already developing plans for whenever they can come in. Tony Nese's 90-day non-compete clause is different to other people. I know a lot of people in NXT have 30-day non-compete clauses. That's typical for NXT or 205 Live contracts. Tony Nese has a 90-day non-compete clause. Why? The only thing I can think of is that he might have been on a main roster contract again when he was one of the cruiserweight OGs, really, when it comes to 205 Live, and they obviously got main roster contracts in the end because they were put on Monday Night Raw. I don't know if Tony Nese was still working on that contract. I don't know. Think about it. If he signed with WWE, say in 2016, and it was a 5-year deal, that probably would be about right now. If he signed a little bit later, say he officially signed with them a bit later on, or signed a new deal, a main roster deal in, say, 2017, that would have been, his contract would have been expiring next year. So that kind of adds up. That kind of makes sense if it was a 5-year contract. So we're not going to see Tony Nese in Impact Wrestling for a while. It's going to be 3 months. So we're looking maybe towards Bound for Glory time, something like that. That's really, I guess, the time to look out for him. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a good thing. There's a lot going on in the X Division right now. As I mentioned, there's a lot being featured and a lot being focused on the X Division right now. So maybe it's not a bad thing that he's out of the spotlight for a little bit and then he comes in and then suddenly he feels like a big deal in that X Division. But certainly an exciting time, and Tommy Dreamer wants Tony Nese in Impact Wrestling. Somebody else that wants a former WWE superstar in Impact Wrestling is one half of the Good Brothers, one half of the former Impact Tag Team Champions as well, Carl Anderson, who also wants Everrise to come to Impact Wrestling. This is what Carl Anderson tweeted yesterday after hearing the news of Everrise being released by WWE. He tweeted, quote, hashtag Everrise to Impact Wrestling, signed, hashtag the machine gun. So Carl Anderson certainly putting his stamp of approval on wanting to see Everrise in Impact Wrestling. This is going to be a really tough one. I mentioned this in the video that I did earlier on, talking about the WWE releases, where I think they'll be going. Everrise, for me, will not have any problem getting work. They won't. I think every single company, and I'm including AEW in that one as well, I think everyone will be interested. I really do. I think the reason I say that is because usually I would, for most WWE releases, I would say, maybe AEW isn't the right place for you. Unless you're a big name, unless your name's like Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Miro, Brody Lee, etc. Those names, when they were released by WWE, I would always say to myself, those big names, I would say that go to AEW. There's certainly a spot on the roster for them. The smaller names, the names that aren't as well recognized, I said it with Brian Myers and Matt Cardona and those names last year, Eric Young, etc. I said that I didn't think AEW was the right place for them because that roster is so bloated. That roster is so big. And that roster is, so big and so bloated that they struggle to fit the talent that they have anyway on Dynamite every single week. They really do. That's why we have so many factions and so many stables in AEW right now, is the Young Bucks admitted it themselves. It's a New Japan booking philosophy where everyone's in a faction, but also it's a case of we've got so many names under contract, how do we get them on TV every week? Well, if they're part of a faction, that's how we get them on TV. So usually, I would say for the smaller or lesser-known talents that are released by WWE, like an Everrise, I would usually say, don't go to AEW, you get lost in the shuffle. You've only got 2 hours of primetime television every single week, which is Wednesday nights on TNT. Yes, you have Dark. Yes, you have Dark Elevation. I know we've got Rampage coming, which might change things when it comes to AEW, but still, it's a big roster. It's difficult to get on television. I would always recommend go to a smaller promotion, like an Impact, like a Ring of Honor, like an MLW, like an NWA. Get yourself over a bit more, prove your worth, and then have AEW come calling for you, essentially. The reason that's different when it comes to Everrise is I think they fit. I think they fit AEW's style so perfectly is you can see these guys. You can almost mentally, in your mind, you can see these guys on an episode of Being the Elite. It's perfect. They're absolutely perfect for AEW. Their comedic style, their sort of cult status. You can just, again, you can see them. You can already see them on a Being the Elite vlog. You can see them on a Sammy Guevara vlog or whatever. They just seem perfect, and maybe they would be stars that came into AEW and went with the Dark route first, and they appeared on AEW Dark and Dark Elevation, and then eventually go on Dynamite. But so did quite a few tag teams in AEW right now, whether that was the Acclaimed or Top Flight or whoever. They all started off on AEW Dark. Who's to say that Everrise wouldn't do the same? So I do think everyone will be interested. I think if Impact Wrestling can pull this one off, I think it would be a really big signing for Impact Wrestling. We spoke about the X Division earlier on, and we spoke about the renewed focus that Impact Wrestling have had on the X Division over the course of the last 6 months, and how it's been a real drive and a real initiative by Impact Wrestling officials. We want to focus on the X Division going forward. I think the same needs to happen now when it comes to the tag team division in Impact Wrestling, because the tag team division in Impact Wrestling for a while, certainly in 2020, 2019, was so strong. When you had people like the North there, and the return of the Motor City Machine Guns, and the Good Brothers coming in, and a real strong tag team division there. And then you had the lesser tag teams, whether it was Reno Scum, TJP and Fallah Bar. The list can go on and on of the names that they had. Those names have subsequently disappeared, and the tag team division has been slightly decimated over the course of the last year or so, whether it's the North splitting up, which of course is a huge loss to Impact Wrestling. Ethan Page contract expiring, he goes to AEW. Josh Alexander stays with Impact because his contract doesn't expire until next year. What he's going to do, time will only tell. You had the Motor City Machine Guns as well. They returned at Slammiversary, but Alex Shelley can't wrestle at the moment because of issues outside of his control with his real life day job. So you've got two big teams like the North and the Motor City Machine Guns. They're out of the picture. Obviously, Reno Scum, they left the company. You've also got the Good Brothers now, who aren't really in the tag team title picture anymore. And it's almost as if they're not really involved in tag team business, if that makes sense. They're involved in the more major storylines within Impact Wrestling. So they're involved with the whole Don Callis, Kenny Omega stuff. They're obviously on Dynamite most weeks. They're obviously now doing appearances for New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. So it's kind of if they're not even really involved in the tag team scene either. And again, you've got people like Ace Austin and Madman Fulton who were competing as tag teams. They're no longer, really focused in the tag team picture as well. They're involved in X Division business, and it kind of feels like the tag team division's a little bit empty right now. Obviously, we had Violent by Design retain the tag team titles this past week on Impact. We'll talk about the ratings in a second for this past week, but we had Violent by Design retain the tag team championships this past week on Impact. They defeated Eddie Edwards and Kojima, which, is obviously, I really enjoyed the match, but Kojima isn't sticking around. Obviously, he's got the affiliation with New Japan Pro Wrestling. That's the only reason he was with Impact. So you're struggling for legitimate tag teams in Impact Wrestling right now that are focused on the tag team championships, winning the tag team titles. Getting a tag team in like Everrise, I think would obviously fill that purpose of getting tag teams in. But on top of that, I mentioned that their humor fits AEW. It also does fit Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling have done some wacky stuff over the course of the last 18 months or so. Whether it's Wrestle House, whether it's Johnny Bravo getting shot, whether it's any Johnny Swinger segment or anything like that. They do some pretty weird stuff. Whether it's Falabar, the Money and Hernandez and all that kind of craziness. They do some pretty wacky stuff, and Everrise fits into that. You could totally see Everrise Live getting their own talk show or, revamping their talk show, doing something different in the Impact Wrestling world. And again, doing that craziness, doing that unique off-the-wall humor. You could certainly see them doing that in Impact Wrestling. So I think not only would they fit in terms of the tag team division, but I also think they would fit in the general presentation of, not taking yourself too seriously and all that kind of stuff. I could certainly see Impact doing that with them. Again, I think it's going to be a bit of a difficult one when it comes to Everrise, because I think pretty much every single company will be interested. And again, I count AEW in that. I do. I don't think AEW is going to really go crazy in terms of a bidding war like they would for, say, an Aleister Black or a Braun Strowman. But I think there will be offers. I think there'll be offers from every single company. They also have history with Ring of Honor, so they could certainly go back there. But if Carl Anderson is openly advocating, I want you to come to Impact, that's a big deal as well. And I have no doubts. That Impact would have reached out. Again, they're very proactive in terms of going after these talents when they're released by WWE. They're very proactive. They'll reach out in terms of 15 minutes. So Everrise is wanted in Impact Wrestling. Everrise rules, of course, but they're certainly wanted in Impact by a very influential figure in Carl Anderson, one of the highest paid guys on the roster. There's no doubt about that. So who knows? It would certainly be a big signing, I think, for Impact. It'd be a really smart one as well. They'd have creative freedom. Again, they wouldn't be tied down in terms of exclusivity, in terms of contracts. So who knows what could happen? Certainly Carl Anderson wants to see them in Impact Wrestling going forward. Finally, let's talk about the ratings for this past week's Impact Wrestling. It's interesting. Now, the Impact Wrestling viewership did hold steady. It must be said this week. It did hold steady, but they did do the lowest 18 to 49 key demographic of 2021. Now, this is reported by Brandon Thurston at WrestleNomics. He's reporting that the June 24 episode of Impact drew 111,000 live viewers on AXS TV. This number is the exact same as that from last week. The show also saw a repeat of the 0.03 rating in the 18 to 49 demographic. Thurston notes that the 37,000 drawn in the 18 to 49 demographic was down slightly from last week, making it the lowest of the year for the show. So the lowest viewership audience in that key 18 to 49 demographic, despite the fact it was not opposed by a wrestling documentary for the first time since April, of course, because they air on the same night on Vice. As Vice had the Dark Side of the Ring and last week had the China documentary. A lot of people were attributing the low number last week to the China documentary. Well, there was no documentary. There was no pro wrestling documentary on Vice this week, so the number was still down. People were not interested in watching. And again, that key audience, that key 18 to 49 demographic was the lowest of 2021 so far. Certainly something Impact Wrestling doesn't want to see heading into what is arguably going to be their biggest show of the year. It certainly was last year in Slammiversary. Now, again, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting, and to see what happens. Now, obviously, when it's worth talking about ratings when it comes to Impact, just looking at solely the AXS TV ratings maybe isn't as totally fair as other companies, because Impact Wrestling does stream their show on Twitch also, and a lot of people watch you know, whether it's on demand or DVR, or a lot of people watch the highlights on YouTube, again, because they don't have access to AXS TV, that must be said. But I think if you're Impact Wrestling officials, you must be saying, well, we've got to do something. And to be honest, again, the show was good. I did think the show was good this past week, this past Thursday night on Impact. But if you're going to look at the card from top to bottom, was it a show that really, you know, sucked you in and said, oh, I have to watch this, I have to watch this? The argument is probably no. The argument is probably no. The big angle right now is Don Callis, of course, being fired and all that kind of stuff. But I guess this is part of the problem when you tape your show so far in advance. Impact Wrestling hasn't been doing any TV tapings throughout the month of June. I don't know if they're going to do some in July. I don't know. I don't know if they've taped all the way up to Slammiversary. I doubt it. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see when it comes out. But the numbers aren't great. The numbers aren't great. And Impact will be looking to bounce back. How they do that, time will only tell. I would assume if I'm Impact and I'm really looking to drive a number up quickly, I would continue the heavy teases of these former WWE stars that are set to come in at Slammiversary. We know there are at least 2 that are going to come in. So I would heavily rely on that. I would get some buzz going. I would maybe ring up AEW and say, could you maybe do a mention? Could you do a mention on TNT this week? Who knows? They've got their own issues, I suppose, when it comes to the Friday nights and the Saturday nights and all that kind of stuff. So maybe they aren't interested. But look, as always, guys, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on all the Impact Wrestling news stories we've spoken about today? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys talking about Impact Wrestling, AEW, WWE, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to get involved in the community. Drop a comment below. All opinions are welcome. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button too. It really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestling News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right-hand corner of the screen right now. Or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or have you come across this video today. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.